So, hi, I'm Carolina Leo, and I'm actually working pediatric audiology for quite a few years now. But it was only after I moved to pediatrics that made me realize how challenging it was to test some of the adult patients that we encountered in our clinics, because they are more difficult to test than some children. And thinking back, I think how important it was to rehabilitate those adults, especially the difficult ones to test, because they were getting more isolated. I still work with adults with cochlear implants now, and I can see the joy when they can hear again, if they lost their hearing, or when they can first hear. So it is very exciting to get sound back to people and back to their lives and make them hear the sounds that they were missing from the past.
I'm Littlejohn. I work as a researcher at the University of Manchester, and I am very passionate at understanding the links between hearing loss and cognitive impairment and dementia. I think it's very important to look at adult rehabilitation in this context because there's lots of theories and there's lots of work going on suggesting that actually if we treat hearing loss we can reduce the risk of dementia, but unfortunately we have no evidence for this. So no one's actually done this study where we've looked at whether that does modify the risk. So that's something that would be really, really fantastic to look at. So I it was my background's in dementia research, and I started volunteering for a hearing loss charity, and then started looking at kind of this overdiagnosis rates and looking at how people with hearing loss might be attributed to having cognitive impairment, but also the other way around, they might be missed having cognitive impairment because they're just don't hear things, and they kind of get put to the side, or it's their hearing loss that it's making their memory. So that's kind of how it started, and it's sort of taken off from there, and looking at all sorts of things now that I never thought I'd know about adult rehabilitation.
Hi, my name is Richard Windle. I work as a clinical scientist at the Royal Berkshire Hospital in audiology, and I'm also doing the HSST programme. I'm mainly working in adult rehab. I'm particularly interested in the elderly and elderly care. I think that my passion for that really comes from the fact that I perhaps saw my own grandfather in a care home with bad hearing loss, with dementia. And I just felt, particularly training in audiology, that there's an awful lot more we could do for the elderly, and that perhaps we don't really put enough focus on caring for the elderly in an appropriate way in audiology. And there's a lot more I think we could probably do with hearing aids and alternative devices, and caring more widely for the elderly. I think perhaps when you work with patients with dementia, and it's really tough sometimes. You know, you will have patients who will just throw hearing aids away straight away. But then perhaps on the positive side, there are the occasional patient who come in and who've probably just been assumed they've got dementia, so we'll leave them in a corner, and actually a relative may bring them in, and you can see on the face the moment you turn a hearing aid on that something's happened, that something fantastic has happened. And a couple of patients I remember where a smile just grows across their face because something's changed. They can actually feel, they can hear things, and all of a sudden they're talking to their relative, and it's such a fundamental moment that I always take that with me.
My name is Nilesh, and I'm an audiologist. So adult rehab audiology is, what I understand it, as a way of helping adults with hearing loss, and their sort of like social problems with hearing.
Okay.
One particular patient I had, they were really isolated. they couldn't interact with their family, they were having problems, they were like at the point where husband and wife are thinking of divorce because of their hearing loss. And the fact of something as simple as like a hearing aid is something that just revolutionized their whole life, really. And to introduce something so simple as that and to go through that with them was a very inspirational moment. The things we can do now that we could do before, it's ever changing.
Shiraj. I work in the Royal Surrey County Hospital in Guildford. Adult rehabilitation to me, is a process of helping the individual to cope with their hearing impairment, or to cope with their hearing impairment and with the use of hearing aid. And so I think the coping element of it is very important, because it is, at the end of the day, this is the person who needs to basically learn how to compensate for this limitation in their life. And in the field of coping, also the technical aspects and the gadgets that can help people are very important. But it is a psychological process, and to me, it's very important to first understand the psychological dilemma that the person may have in dealing with this hearing impairment that they have, or even the underlying psychological conflict that they may have in terms of moving forward with hearing aids. And I think exploring those will be very valuable to then helping them to move forward. For me, I was doing my PhD on researching how to help people to improve their hearing aid use. And in that research, I had to interview people in order to find out why is it that they're not using their hearing aids at the first place. And I used a lot of psychological techniques in order to get to the bottom of the fears or the unhappiness that was created because of use of hearing aids. And it was very inspiring to me that during that process of exploring these problems, they actually became closer to accepting those and helping them to move forward. It's very important to understand the patient. It's very important to be able to put yourself in their shoes and to see the problem from their eyes. Then they feel much more comfortable with you, because they feel their story, their side of the story is understood. And that builds a good relationship and provide the opportunity and desire and motivation to move forward. In fact, a psychological technique called motivational interviewing has shown to be very effective. It does help people to improve their hearing aid use, and it doesn't really take that much time. As little as 10 minutes motivational interviewing can make a big difference in patients' life.